Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello everyone, Gabby here.
And I'm Brenna.
And welcome back to the Mystery of Everything podcast. Okay guys, before we begin today's episode, I just want to remind everyone that we have a Patreon where you can get bonus episodes as well as ad-free episodes. In addition, if you would please leave us a review, it would mean a lot to us because it helps us to grow in the algorithm.
And you can also get pictures of my feet there. You can't.
That is false advertising. You better post a picture of your foot.
Not unless you all message me, DM me on Instagram, and just slide in my DMs. My prices are cheap. My feet are pretty.
Oh my God. Well, anyway, you could do that too, I guess.
It's just a thought. It's like you do you. You don't have to. But if you wanted to.
Support a small business. Hashtag shop local.
Hashtag help Brenna quit her job. No, right now it's hashtag help Brenna get super cool outfits for the reckoning.
I'm so excited for the reckoning. Oh yeah, guys, if you want to go LARP with us, come to the reckoning in Kentucky. It's May 24th to 28th, and it's going to be super fun.
I'm so excited, but so unprepared. I got to get a tent. I got to get outfits.
And we're part of the Hadrian Empire, and the outfits are really actually pretty for the Hadrian Empire.
They are really pretty, but
I decided not to go like classic Hadrian because a lot of people have like really pretty stuff. I just wanted to go Archer. I just want to live my Aragorn dreams. So that's what I did.
Live your life.
Okay, guys. So anyway, I know everybody wanted Surgery Part 2, and I am going to work on Surgery Part 2. I just took a break from Surgery Part 2. I got sidetracked with this mystery, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
I love how her brain does this.
I know. I jump around. People think I have ADHD. I've never been tested for anything because I'm from the Caribbean, but it's what I'm interested in.
It's wonderful, though. Like, I'm here for it. I like, you get an idea, and then the next day, it's done.
Yeah. I just hyperfixate on it, and then, like, boom. So my sister-in-law's boyfriend gifted me a book on mysteries for Christmas, which he gifted me a book on Area 51, and I need to read the book on Area 51 because it is so interesting, and then I could do like a whole series on Area 51 by itself.
That would be cool.
But yeah, so this book, I was reading it the other night. It sent me down a rabbit hole of the Flannan Isles mystery, which led me to the Mary Celeste, and you have this podcast. So if you haven't heard of any of these, well, the mystery of Flannan Island is the story of 3 lighthouse keepers who seem to have vanished into thin air. The story begins on December 15th, 1900, in the Outer Hebrides of the UK. If you're unfamiliar with the Outer Hebrides, it's a chain of islands right off the northwest coast of Scotland. These islands have a great deal of historical value as archaeologists have discovered tons of information about Scotland's past. Neolithic stone structures, medieval churches, and even mummies have been discovered on these isles. Prehistoric stone circles have also been located on the islands, with one of these being the Callanish standing stones, which if you don't know what those are, they're a really famous prehistoric stone monument that was living under a blanket of peat until 1857 when the owner of the island just decided to excavate. It consists of 4 rows of ancient stones radiating outward from a stone circle forming a rough cross shape. It has a huge 4.8 meter tall monolith looking over like a stone burial kiss within the circle. Interestingly enough, there are 15 other stone circles and standing stones nearby. So I really want to see this. I really want to go there. I was on like their little like island website page, and there's a lot of cool history, and it's so beautiful.
I mean, these stones are looking super cool. It makes me want to touch them and travel back in time.
Oh, you watched Outlander?
Yes.
I have not finished it. I need to finish it. And last time I said something, because I think I said that I got bored with Outlander, and someone was like, no, it's my favorite. And like, I just get bored with things. Ask Brenna. That's
do
how I jump
too.
around. I've been watching Gilmore
feel
Girls
that.
for like 6 months. I'm never going to finish Gilmore Girls. I'm on season 3. It's been months.
I mean, I love Outlander, though. I like my scotch on the rocks. Get it? Jamie leaned up against some rocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God. See, the thing is, I love Jamie, but I'm really mean and I don't like when men talk in a mean tone to me. So I would actually stab him through the heart so fast. We would not.
I'd let him sling me up against the wall.
We wouldn't vibe because I'm mean and he's mean and it would be so toxic.
That's why he likes Claire, is because she puts him in his fucking place.
Maybe, but I'm really mean. Claire's not that mean. So, Brenna, you see the picture? There's he standing. So, and then
it looks very cool.
Beneath it, I got the picture of the lighthouse keepers, which is really ominous because now we know they disappeared.
They look like the Peaky Blinders.
Oh my gosh. They do.
They do.
So, as you can see, this area of the Outer Hebrides is already really interesting as it stands, but it gets even more interesting as we look at what occurred on December 15th, 1900. This mystery begins when the captain of a USS steamer known as the Arctur was sailing from Philly to the Scottish port of Leith, and he noticed that the lighthouse wasn't working. Typically, when sailing past the Outer Hebrides, the lighthouse would be a source of, well, light to the men at sea. But on this specific night, there was no sign of life on the island where the lighthouse was located, which I don't know. On a stormy night, if you're like a ship out of choppy in the waves and there's no lighthouse, I'd be a little bit nervous.
Well, yeah.
Because I would like to know, at the very least, even if the lighthouse isn't guiding me, that there's other people alive on Earth, you know? Maybe.
It'd be definitely sketch.
But on this specific night, there was no sign of life on the island where the lighthouse was located. This set off alarm bells to the men aboard the Arctur. Upon arriving at their destination in Leith, they reported to the Northern Lighthouse Board that something seemed to be wrong with the lighthouse on Flannan Isles. Upon hearing this, the board quickly started an investigation, which you guys are going to think I'm really, really dumb, but while I was writing this episode, I learned that there was a lighthouse board, and I don't know if it's still active today. I don't know if people care that deeply about lighthouses nowadays because we got GPS and all of the cool
They still save
tech.
lives, though.
But it makes sense back in the day that there would be a whole association with like a leader and it was taken super, super seriously because people relied on them. So that was news to me. Anyway, they reported it to the Northern Lighthouse Board that something was wrong, and upon hearing this, the board quickly started an investigation. The relief ship Hesperus was dispatched immediately to Flannan Isles, and it arrived by Boxing Day. To those who don't know, that's December 26th. It's the day after Christmas. Where I'm from, we typically have parties on Boxing Day. Don't know why, just how it is. Anyway, upon arrival, the captain of the Hesperus, a man by the name of Jim Harvey, released a flare, honked the horn, but the lighthouse remained unresponsive. There was no flag, no box of provisions left out, no light, no movement, nothing. So the relief lighthouse keeper that was sent out with the Hesperus disembarked and went to the lighthouse to investigate the mysterious circumstances. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone disappears from a remote area mysteriously, I don't want to be the guy to investigate.
No.
Nothing about that sounds like a good idea. Like, how do you know that you're not next? So good for him. Anyway, he climbed the 160-step staircase that would take him up to the Also, there were 160 steps to get up to it. I would hate to be that guy. Upon entering the living quarters, however, there was no sign of the men. The 3 lighthouse keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur, were nowhere to be found. The only things left behind were unmade beds and a table that was set and ready for a meal, a stopped clock, a knocked-over chair, and a live canary that was in a cage. Now, make note of these items. These are in almost every article you look up online. They're in almost every story you just hear. If you Google it, that's what they'd say that was found. So keep that in mind. So all of this is really strange. The fact that the table was set, the bird was left behind in a cage, gives the impression that the men weren't planning on going anywhere. It doesn't even give the impression that they stepped out and were planning on coming back, because why was the clock broken? And why was the chair knocked over? It's very much given taken against their will, but who would want to kidnap 3 lighthouse keepers? Also, the fact that the only signs of struggle were the knocked over chair and the broken clock makes me also think it wasn't a kidnapping, because I feel like that would cause a lot more chaos.
Yeah, for sure.
Taking 3 fully grown men against their will would probably... It would be
I feel
destroyed.
like it would demolish a room. If they're like alive and kicking, then...
And they weren't like tiny men. You saw the picture. They were like normal, strong. They look like they could
unless
rock
they're
you.
drugged or something, then a lot more would be done in that place than just a few things knocked over.
Yep. So maybe the men were trying to flee something or someone. But then what would make 3 men run out of a lighthouse and never come back? Something human like pirates, something supernatural like a sea monster. The theories for this were wild. Wild.
Understandably so.
So upon returning to the ship, Moore arranged with the captain to return to the scene with 2 more men, a second mate and a seaman. Oh my gosh. Imagine being called a seaman. Every time someone talked to me, I'd snicker. Sorry. I keep cutting off topic, but they were hoping that they may be able to locate the men somewhere on the island. These 3 men tore apart that island, but all they found were 1 set of oilskins, which is the waterproof covering that lighthouse keepers would wear. And all that this indicated was that 1 man, so one of the 3, left an oilskin behind for some reason. Again, nothing to go off of. The entire search of the island didn't reveal anything about the men or their whereabouts or any sign of other men or human life on the island. What they did find, though, was evidence of a very large storm. There was a smashed open supply box that had its contents dispersed over the area of the landing platform on the west side of the island. The iron railings on the side of the path was bent and twisted out of shape. Part of a railway track had been torn from concrete moorings, and a rock that weighed more than a ton was somehow moved, which... What type of wave would move?
Yeah, that's an
rock
insane storm.
That
Maybe
weighs
that
a
could have been
ton?
like fleeing to get to safety, but where would safety be?
You're on an
Like,
island.
You're on an island. You're in, probably the safest place you could be in is the lighthouse, assuming.
See, so since people obviously are still on these islands, if waves could be that big and destructive, I personally would be out of there. I'd be gone. It's like me considering moving right now because of tornadoes. There's been so
but then
many.
you go to Florida and
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes. You can't win. Aruba's a good island. You all don't get hurricanes, I don't think.
But does Europe get tornadoes? If not, I'm packing my luggage. I'm living with you. Just message me, email me, DM me.
We do have a plan to move to Ireland, to Cork. Me and Gab are going to move to Cork.
It's really sad because my brother is moving to Florida. And then like one of my best friends is moving to Florida. Might move at some point. And now I'm like, very sad stuff. Because like that one's like my brother. And then my actual brother, I can't lose both of them to Florida. I'm really mad about it. It's okay. It's okay. If you're listening to this, don't feel guilty though. Do what you want. Do what makes you happy.
If you're listening to this, I'm very proud of you.
But yeah, I don't know. Apparently turf that was more than 200 feet above sea level had been ripped up from the top of the cliffs. But still, there was no sign of these lighthouse keepers. I think the storm took them. Took them out.
Honestly, yes. But like, why did they leave
the building?
Yes.
Because the building obviously was intact. So
yeah, so if it was that bad, why would you leave?
maybe they got kidnapped, honestly, but they were already outside. I don't know. That makes no sense.
Yeah, because their shit's knocked over inside. So I don't know.
It's messy. So with the search coming up empty, Moore and the 2 men that were with him stayed to operate the lighthouse. Captain Harvey sent a telegram to the lighthouse board saying, "A dreadful accident has happened at Flannan. The 3 keepers, Ducat, Marshall, and the occasional," which is, I don't know why he typed the occasional, "have disappeared from the island. The clocks were stopped, and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows. They must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane." Did not mean to laugh by blown over the cliffs, but like the way he worded it.
Poor fellows. Sorrows. Prayers.
Oh my god. But I hope you guys liked my accent. I figured that's what Captain Harvey would say. I feel like
it
I don't
really
know.
pulled me in.
Thank you. I'm trying to creatively storytell. immersively storytelling.
I'm here for
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Everybody shush! William Shatner has something to say.
Cat and Jethro, box of oddities.
What do you do when the woman you love dies? Well, of course, you dig her up and you live with her.
Aww.
The show examines weird things.
There are plenty of old photographs from this time period of children out in the streets playing in and among the dead horse carcasses.
Oh, I miss those days. Things used to be so much simpler.
Cat and Jethro.
Then there's the urine wheel, which sounds like a really bad game show.
They've done weird things. Cat and Jethro, box of oddities. That is really mysterious.
Join Cat and Jethro Gilligan Toth for the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected, as they lift the lid and cautiously peer inside the Box of Oddities.
The Webby Award-winning Box of Oddities podcast from Airwave Media.
So the other islands were thoroughly searched by the crew of the Hesperus with still no sign. The head of the lighthouse board, a man by the name of Robert Muirhead, conducted an investigation on the island. He had been well acquainted with the missing keepers, and he was even able to conclude that the oilskin that was recovered belonged to MacArthur, which he must have known them really well. If he could just be like, that one,
I
that's
know
MacArthur's.
this. It smells just like him.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
So, he concluded, maybe that's like another added level to the mystery, like you're making stuff up now, but I mean, everybody made stuff up about this story. It's wild, you guys. So he concluded after examining the west platform that we discussed earlier, that the men, Marshall and Ducat, must have been trying to secure the equipment during the violent storm, and when they didn't return, MacArthur must have gone out to find them, and that is when he lost his oilskin, which that makes sense. He was probably preparing dinner but then, again, if you think about it, maybe he was running outside and he knocked the chair over.
He had to be
sprinting.
Maybe the storm was starting and he's like, I gotta find him now.
I hope I have a friend like that one day who's like, oh, I must find her. And they run out into a violent storm and knock a chair over on their way out.
And perish.
Well, not the perish part. Hopefully they save me.
I can be that friend for you.
You have to be like better than perish though. Like
you have to
like,
go
live.
missing though. And you have to keep your location on.
That's impossible.
See?
I can't keep my location on.
That's where it gets you.
My car has Wi-Fi though and tracking services, and Steve and I share the car. So like through the app in our phone, it tells you where the car is and like how fast the person is driving. It's connected to Wi-Fi, so it tells you literally every single thing about the car, like the speed I'm going, how my braking is. I can't run away anymore. I didn't think this through. That's a lot to think about.
We'll think about that another time.
Sorry. I fully put my phone down to process this.
I shouldn't have said anything.
Okay. But this Muirhead, the head of the lighthouse board, that guy, his statement read, and I quote, "From evidence which I was able to procure, I was satisfied that the men had been on duty up till dinner time on Saturday, the 15th of December, that they had gone down to secure a box in which the mooring ropes, landing ropes, etc., were kept, and which was secured in a crevice in the rock about 110 feet above sea level, and that an extra large sea had rushed up the face of the rock, it had gone above them, and coming down with immense force, had swept them completely away." So basically a giant wave took them out. However, this report did nothing to calm the public. People said that the report lacked any source of proof since no bodies were able to be recovered.
It's not wrong.
But like, how would they recover bodies if it was swept out to sea, I couldn't. Know. They're asking a lot of this poor man. So some people, having heard that Jacob Moore, the replacement lighthouse keeper, had seen 2 large black birds when he initially climbed up the stairs to investigate. Well,
oh, goodness.
That's all they needed. they started spreading the story that the men were taken by giant seabirds, which they had heard of in like campfire tales as children.
Because that's more believable than a wave taking them out.
I mean, but maybe it's like
these
a bird.
Giant seabirds
So
took them back to their nest and fed them to their babies.
Well, no, because these are seabirds. They live underwater. That's why we haven't seen them, right?
What?
So the seabirds are under the ocean, and they just come up and they steal sailors, and then they dive back underwater.
At this point, you might as well say mermaids.
Seabird mermaids. Flying mermaids, you guys. That's what did it. But anyway, seriously. They also had stories of men being taken by giant sea serpents, which is terrifying. The idea of a sea serpent. Why? Who would invent that? Snakes are scary enough on land. And when I saw a snake swimming through a river one day when I was shocking fish for my bio class, I just about cried. No, I did cry. I cried and I went back to the van. And the professor was like, Gabby, it's okay. You don't have to come back out anymore. You'll get full marks.
Well, that was sweet.
But I just don't understand who would come up with a sea serpent. Snakes are scary enough on land.
Oh, I looked up more pictures of the Groot slang. He is a little serpenty. Obviously, I ain't going to show you.
You should have posted it.
I can't post it.
Post it to Patreon, and I just won't go on there for a little bit. Like a hot
minute.
I
put a trigger warning, and then someone, you know who you are, because you're going to listen to this episode, came for me, and then we started quoting Monty Python, and then you discussed my poor grammar, and we're going to have words about this later, after I learn Roman numerals. You know who you are.
Grammar. Oh, no. My pronunciation is terrible, so like, it's not really, I have an accent, so I say a lot of words weird. And it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I mean, you just have an accent. I, too, have an accent.
We love a good accent.
Yeah. That's why you all love us.
Someone on YouTube the other day was like, oh, I bet this guy has a southern accent about Steve, and he just covers it up. And I'm like, no.
What?
No.
That would take so much time. I don't even know if I could cover mine up if I tried.
Steve is not dedicated enough to cover up a whole accent if he had it. He just has like a broadcastery type
How do
voice.
you cover up an accent? How do you cover up an accent?
I can't cover up an accent because people can very much tell that I'm Trinidadian. Like a random Trinidadian person would hear me speak and be like, oh my God, you're from Trinidad. And I'm like, God, I'm never going to get rid of this accent.
Gabby, try to speak with a country accent.
Yeehaw, y'all. Come on down to Kentucky. Is that mean? Is that offensive? Guys, I'm not trying to offend.
I'm country, so she's loud. I'm giving her the pass. I'm giving her the pass, guys.
I can't do it.
You did a terrible job,
I know. I felt like Hannah Montana trying to be Alexis, Texas.
Man, Ryan called me white trash earlier.
Who?
Was it white trash or just trash? Trailer trash? Ryan at work. It's okay because he's a friend.
Dang Ryan.
Well, he said it about himself, and then he was like, "Brenna, you are too." And I was like, "Speak for yourself, thanks." I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Where were we?
I don't even know. I don't even know. We were talking about theories,
right? The giant sea serpent. Other people said so. Some people said giant black seabirds. Others said giant sea serpents. And others said ghost ships, while some others even said the men faked their debts to erase their debts and disappear from society.
Did they owe a lot of debts?
I don't know. I feel like people were just running with it. I looked it up, couldn't find anything on them being in debt. But honestly, maybe if you had the opportunity.
That sounds like something I would do.
I know, me too. That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, listen, if I could get away with it, my name would be like Elena, and I would be not here.
And back in the day, you could get away with shit like that so easily.
Right?
Especially with their mustaches, just shave it off. And
interestingly enough, it is said that a logbook that was found in the lighthouse supposedly should have been able to shed some light on the events. So this logbook included entries between December 12th, and 15th. The logs are said to have been written by Marshall and are as follows. But the thing is, keep in mind, Marshall was the second in command. He was not the one in charge of all of the men. So it'd be weird that he would write this. Anyway.
So as far as logs go, though, do you log everything? Like what?
That is a great question, and it'll come up later.
Yeah, what is log worthy?
That's the question. So I'm going to read you these logs, and then we'll discuss the logbook etiquette of the times. So on December 12th, he allegedly wrote, and I quote, "Gale, north by northwest, sea lashed to fury, stormbound 9 p.m. Never seen such a storm. Everything shipshape, Ducat irritable, 12 p.m. Storm still raging, wind steady, stormbound, cannot go out, ship past, sounding foghorn. Could see lights of cabin, Ducat quiet, MacArthur crying." MacArthur was the boss.
Oh.
And he was like, MacArthur crying in the logbook that,
that everyone can see.
That's shady. December 13th, and I quote, "Storm continued through night. Wind shifted west by north. Ducat quiet, MacArthur praying. 12 noon, gray daylight, me, Ducat, and MacArthur prayed." December 15th, 1 p.m., storm ended, sea calm, God is over all. A 3-day storm? That sounds terrible. That
sounds miserable.
Like the worst time. We had a storm yesterday. It was like 5 hours of storm. I was like, if this doesn't end soon, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. But it ended. It hardly stormed here, actually. We were lucky. So, no casualties were mentioned, but if the men didn't disappear in the storm and they were able to actually write a logbook up until that day that they disappeared, where were they, And we know they must have disappeared on the 15th because that night there was no one at the lighthouse to guide the Arctur when they sailed past. So what happened? Well, people who knew MacArthur, they knew that he was a typically very violent man. So with this knowledge, they were able to make up a series of unfortunate events all involving him. So MacArthur was known for being quick to settle arguments in fights. People jumped to the conclusion that the men may have gotten into an argument, which could have led to all men falling to their deaths from the cliffs of the West.
When Johann Rall received the letter on Christmas Day 1776, he put it away to read later. Maybe he thought it was a season's greeting and wanted to save it for the fireside. But what it actually was a warning, delivered to the Hessian colonel, letting him know that General George Washington was crossing the Delaware and would soon attack his forces. The next day, when Rall lost the Battle of Trenton and died from 2 colonial Boxing Day musket balls, the letter was found, unopened in his vest pocket. As someone with 15,000 unread emails in his inbox, I feel like there's a lesson there. Oh well, this is The Constant, a history of getting things wrong. I'm Mark Chrysler. Every episode, we look at the bad ideas, mistakes, and accidents that misshaped our world. Find us at constantpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey y'all, spooky season is here. And if you're looking for a show to whet your appetite for a little haunted history, then I'd like to invite you to check out Southern Gothic, a chart-topping history podcast that explores some of the most infamous legends, folklore, ghost stories, and hauntings of the American South. We've covered all sorts of stuff from the Bell Witch of Tennessee to the disappearance of the Confederate submarine, the H.L. Hunley. Not to mention our deep dives into the local lore of some of America's oldest and most haunted cities, like New Orleans, Charleston, and St. Augustine. So, if you're ready for a little good old-fashioned Halloween storytelling with a commitment to quality historical research, then be sure to check out Southern Gothic today. It's available now on all your favorite podcast apps.
Western Landing. Another theory was that MacArthur may have murdered the other 2 men and thrown their bodies into the sea and then also thrown himself off of the cliff. These 2 theories were, super interesting and more realistic, but they were based on a ton of assumptions. In addition, there was no real evidence of a fight or any previous knowledge of any ill will between the men. So everything that was told above comes from most sources listed online and most common retellings of the events. However, I was able to look further and I found a podcast called the Skeptoid Podcast that dug even deeper. So the following tells of the parts of the story that are embellished or falsified and the origins of these changes. Also, the Skeptoid Podcast page is linked if you guys are curious. So remember the account earlier of a chair being knocked over and a canary being left behind while the clock was broken? It turns out these were never included in Moore's original report of the investigation of the lighthouse that first day, yet they're in every printed article and book. It turns out that there were no references to these items at all until a poem published in 1912 by W. Gibson, which dramatized the event. These mysterious happenings, they were all made up by this poem. Literally.
What?
And then everybody was like, oh my God, because it happened in the 1900s. So by the time this guy published the poem in 1912, it just more than likely just kept being repeated as truth. Because they didn't have Google either.
The telephone game.
They didn't have Google to just look it up and be like, actually, was this factually correct? No. So that sucks. But remember the logbook that I spoke of, and that's the big one, because the logbook placed the men as being fine on the 15th. Well, Moore did find a logbook, but an investigator by the name of Mike Dash, who is a historian and writer, he launched an investigation into the disappearances, and this led to him finding out that the logs were fake.
What?
The logbook that Moore found included very different entries than the ones that I just read above. We know this because the Northern Lighthouse Board responded in 2014 to a Freedom of Information Act request for the logbook with the following, quote, "We do not hold the logbook and no one is aware of its whereabouts, but lighthouse logbooks would not generally extend beyond recording tasks carried out at the lighthouse and the weather and sea conditions, etc." Dash found out that the actual logbooks were lost by the courts in 1901. We know that the logs were more than likely faked because the second in command would never write in the logs, and they would not write anything about the emotions of the boss or any of the other men due to the possibility that they would see it.
So who wrote this forgery?
Well, we'll get into that. In addition, the original log's final entry was the 13th and not the 15th. The published logbook entries were first seen in 1965 in a story of an author by the name of Vincent Gaddis. So basically, people were writing fiction and other people were not differentiating between reality and fiction. So ultimately, with no actual evidence of the men surviving the storm, this means that the original report by the head of the Lighthouse Board was more than likely right all along. This theory is backed up by a man by the name of John Love, who claims in his book that Thomas Marshall had been fined previously for negligence with securing equipment, which may have led to the men going out into the storm to secure the supply box because they didn't want another fine. And as for what really happened, there's no way for us to know for certain. So that's the story of the missing lighthouse keepers. Let me know what you think happened. I think it was just a big wave. I know people want a bunch of mystery. People were like, it's ghosts, it's pirates.
The clock stopping though.
I mean, maybe it wasn't working to begin with. How often? Because I think back then, wouldn't they have to wind the clock?
You did have to wind it.
So maybe they just didn't. Because I know I wouldn't.
I do forget to wind my clock in the hallway a lot.
See?
I do.
I'll have to let people know
but
that.
But if that was my only means of telling time, I would not forget to wind my clock.
Maybe they had a watch.
You got me there. I feel like it was most likely a storm that took them out.
But I just love how so much stuff got spread from people writing stories. And everyone just believed it and ran with it.
A lot of which happens today.
True.
I was watching one of those videos where reporters will say something to Trump supporters. And I'm not... this is a non-political thing I'm about to say. I don't give two shits. Or if I do, I'll keep it to myself. But anyways, so the reporters were asking people who voted for Trump these things, and they were saying it was about Biden when it was about Trump. But it was so funny because they're like, oh, he evaded the being in the military and blah, 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 blah. And then the woman's just like, yeah, essentially he's a piece of shit. And they're like, oh, actually, that's about Trump. That's not about Biden. And she's like, well, my brother had flat feet. It's a very valid excuse.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what the hell? I'll have to show you that video, Gabby.
There is one more story. One more nautical mystery to this episode before we end it.
Ta-da.
Okay. So this one is pretty well known, so I'll just touch on a little bit of it for those of you who don't know. This is the story of the Mary Celeste. Well, more of the story of the disappearance of the crew of the Mary Celeste. The story of this mysterious ship began on November 7th, 1872, when the Mary Celeste set sail from New York to Genoa, Italy. The Mary Celeste was a 282-ton merchant brigantine, and it was carrying a cargo of denatured alcohol. The captain was a man by the name of Benjamin S. Briggs, and he, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter, along with 8 crew members that he handpicked, set sail to Italy.
I feel like this is going to have a bad ending, isn't it?
No.
It's in a mystery episode.
No, they're doing great.
Oh, the little 2-year-old, though.
So, despite Briggs writing a letter to his mother just 2 days earlier on November 5th saying, quote, "Our vessel is in beautiful trim, and I hope we shall have a fine passage," he unfortunately did not have a fine passage.
Oh, Gabby.
Because just a month after embarking on their journey to Italy, a Canadian brigantine that was also on its way to Genoa came across the Mary Celeste. The captain of this particular ship was a man by the name of David Morehouse, and he started his journey to Italy just 8 days after Briggs. However, on December 5th, they came across the Mary Celeste bobbing in the ocean midway between the Azores and Portugal, and appearing completely abandoned.
Oh, no.
At this point in time, the Mary Celeste should have already arrived in Italy, but here it was, just floating along by itself. Captain Morehouse decided to send a boarding party to investigate the seemingly abandoned ship. All they found on board were some charts that were tossed around and a log that had stopped being updated at 8 a.m. on November 25th, just 9 days earlier. The log placed the last recorded position of the ship as being in an area 400 nautical miles from where it was found. The investigation of the ship revealed that all the crew's belongings were in their quarters, and one of the ship's pumps had been disassembled. The cargo of alcohol that the ship was carrying, which was around 1,700 barrels, was still present, and there was a 6-month supply of food and water on board. There was no sign of violence on board, and everything seemed to be in order. However, the ship's only lifeboat was missing. The Mary Celeste was in such good condition, however, that the crew of the ship that discovered it, they were able to just sail it to Gibraltar, and they even collected an insurance payout. The investigation by the insurer of the Mary Celeste found no signs of foul play. However, after the 3-month investigation, the salvagers only received 1/6 of the $46,000 payment that the ship was insured for, which honestly, it made some people think that the authorities did not fully believe that the crew was completely innocent, or at the very least, that they weren't telling the entire story, because the ship was fully able to be sailed. That's weird, right?
Yes.
Why would it be abandoned? So, the mysterious circumstances surrounding the disappearance of 11 people, however, was not something that people would just let go. I mean, why would an entire crew just up and disappear out of nowhere in the middle of the ocean?
No, if it was just the family, then I'd be like, okay, what were the parents running away from?
Or like the crew, maybe the crew like got them.
Yeah,
mutinied. But the ship wasn't badly damaged. There was no signs of a struggle. There wasn't a logical reason why the captain would abandon the ship. Why would he abandon a perfectly functional ship? Was there a mutiny? Was there something more supernatural? And so, of course, there were theories galore, especially due to the fact that the Mary Celeste had a very mysterious past. Like, guys, you could probably do a podcast on just this ship alone and its adventures. Let's call them adventures. So the ship was originally called the Amazon, and it ended up being renamed the Mary Celeste after a series of unfortunate events. Basically, the first captain died of a sudden illness, and it also collided with another ship in the English Channel, and that was just right out the gate. After that, it became the Mary Celeste, and then the crew disappeared. But things did not get better for it. It basically had many different owners over the course of 12 years, until it was deliberately run aground by its final captain, as he attempted to commit insurance fraud, so he just decided full sail into Haiti. Yeah, that's one way to do it. And honestly, many of the theories may have been held at bay over, what happened to this crew, but Conan Doyle published J. Habakkuk Jeffson's statement, which it was essentially a sensationalized account that he published in 1884 that said that the inhabitants of the Mary Celeste fell victim to an ex-slave that was seeking vengeance. And straight out the gate, everybody had an idea of what actually happened. In fact, it was so bad that even the attorney general that investigated the ship the first time for the insurance company, he reopened the case and carefully reviewed all of the notes and writings he took during the investigation, just to make sure he didn't miss something. However, there was still no indication of what could have happened. Like, he kept his ruling the exact same because after reviewing everything given to him, like, they didn't see any signs of struggle. They didn't see someone go on board and like force them off the ship, you know?
Hello everyone, Stakuyi here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, I mean, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.
So other theories were a lot more wild. They said that the crew was taken by a giant octopus or a strange sea monster, but the entire ship was intact. Also, there were no giant octopuses in the area, you know?
So they were going for like a Kraken vibe, but if everything's still intact on the boat, you still got all their food supply, all of that makes no sense.
Also, the octopus took the lifeboat. Be honest, guys.
No, they got in that lifeboat and left, but why?
So the other theory involved the crew drinking the alcohol and mutinying, but the barrels were all intact except for a few that had leaked. The next theory involving alcohol said that the vapors had blown off the ship's main hatch and the crew had abandoned the ship because they were afraid of an explosion. However, the hatch of the Mary Celeste was fully intact and there were no alcohol vapors. So with all of these theories falling short of an actual explanation, the case was picked up by Anne McGregor, who is a documentary maker that takes a modern forensic approach to historical mysteries. She's quoted as saying, "There are obvious limitations for historic cases, but using the latest technology, you can come to a different conclusion." So in 2002, she decided to dive into the myths and legends surrounding the story and clarify the most likely course of events. To do this, she reconstructed the ship's route. And what she found is that the Captain Briggs, he was more than likely using a defective chronometer. So a chronometer is used for determining longitude at sea. It helps determine the ship's location by utilizing celestial navigation. It compares Greenwich Mean Time and the time at the current location by using celestial bodies. So due to this faulty chronometer, they ended up about 120 miles off course. And with Briggs realizing that he was lost, he may have changed direction and decided that he should head towards Santa Maria Island in the Azores. When it comes to the broken pump, the Mary Celeste had carried coal on its previous voyage and it had just been refitted. So what this means is that the coal and the construction dust, they may have clogged the ship's pumps, and that's why it was probably partially disassembled. So with being off course and malfunctioning pumps, the captain of the Celeste may have abandoned ship and headed to the nearest island of Santa Maria. But that is the best explanation she could come up with. I mean, it is a bit drastic though, if this was his job to just abandon his very expensive ship with all of his cargo and leave. Like, theoretically, he could have left some people on board to come back for them.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
So, I mean, that's the best explanation we have. I personally did not take this. I mean, I was like, yeah, that's probably what happened. But also there must have been a little something extra to force them all to just abandon ship, you know? So if you guys have any additional details, if I missed something, if you have a theory, please share it with us. Because this one left me very bothered. Like, I was looking around like, is that really it? Is that the best we could come up with? Like, the chronometer makes sense. The pump makes sense. Abandoning the entire ship, drastic overreaction. So, and also when they got to the island, when they theoretically, I mean, I know it was 72, but it was owned by Portugal, right? So theoretically, they could have found some people there to help them go back for their ship, right? Don't know.
I agree.
Lots of questions.
I don't know. I don't know why they didn't come back for it.
Maybe they came back for it, but they had already taken it. That's I'm thinking. Like
it's the only explanation.
Maybe he was like, okay, I'll go get my ship now. And then it was gone.
But then they would have appeared back at some point in time.
How are they getting off the island? I mean, I guess they could have paid someone to take them off the island, but they wouldn't go to Italy because they were from the US, right? There's a lot of questions here, you guys. So let us know what you think. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to Patreon.
Yep.
Email us with your suggestions, your spooky stories, and anything else. Make sure to request Brenna's feet in her DMs.
Please do. Please do.
Stay cool. Stay mysterious. Stay
mysterious. I like that. Stay mysterious, you motherfuckers.
Is that the name now we're going with?
That's how we're going to end it from now on is stay mysterious.
You motherfuckers.
We don't have to say the you motherfuckers, but yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.